It can be done by anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're at in your life. You can make changes right now and go about it in a different way from here forward.
Yeah, the number one thing that we teach people, like if you said, how do I become more resilient? It's exercise. Because a workout of the day where your body gets uncomfortable, it tells your mind you're going to die, essentially is what happens. Like, hey, stop doing what you're doing because you're going to die. Pushing through those barriers, those obstacles in your mind are going to make you more resilient. I do a stress shoot at the end of my classes. And a lot of people who technically train, and this correlates to fighting as well. Let me make the example, like you hitting a bag. Most people think punching a bag makes them a good fighter, or they'll virtue signal they're a good fighter because they punch a bag. So you say, you punch a bag, you look cool punching the bag, it feels cool, it looks cool, I must be good at fighting. And then you get on a mat or you get in a ring with a real person, and that's not how it works. It's the same thing with self-defense. A lot of people go to ranges. They shoot paper, they shoot steel, they fall in love with themselves. But they don't implement stress. Because when you are in a parasympathetic rest and digest and you go in like a flash, cortisol, norepinephrine dumps, and you're in a sympathetic fight or flight response, you shift. Your heart rate goes and spikes to 150. If you're not conditioned, 170, 180, 190 beats per minute. That is going to feel like chaos. And at the end of my course, where we learn technical skills, like how to do the thing, we do 5 minutes of calisthenics to get them to 150 beats per minute, because that's how long it takes, around 5 minutes of pushing and pulling, air squats, push-ups, jumping jacks, burpees, basic shit. When they get to 150, grown-ass men, 3 minutes into exercise, are moaning and groaning. Oh. And I'm like, nobody cares that you're moaning and groaning. Nobody fucking cares, because nobody's coming to save you. You need to start focusing on your breath and remembering what you're going to do. Do your mental model rehearsal for the execution of the part that we actually train. So when they get up at 150 beats per minute, they're supposed to, as a baseline, be 150. If you're out of shape, which most people are, 60% of our country is obese, then they're going to be at 170, 180, and they can't perform. And their technical proficiency falls apart. And that's what I want to see, because I want to see what you suck at. I don't want to shake you. I don't want to tap you on the back, shake your hand and say, you've accomplished everything, good job, and then you walk away. I want to identify your weakness. Often with physical exertion, getting pummeled on a jiu-jitsu mat, that's where our reality becomes real and we can navigate it. When I used to do active shooting training, people would say, when are we going to do active shooting training? I'm like, at the end. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to do it at the end. So they're anxious. Before they would go into the active shooting scenario, based on the protocol that we taught, I would take these law enforcement officers, grab them by their uniforms on a mat, and I'd start pummeling them. And so we'd start rolling basic jiu-jitsu, and I would start applying pressure where needed. Some of the guys who weren't trained in jiu-jitsu would immediately go into a fight or flight. They would start hyperventilating, hyper-aroused, and they would get anxious. They would start like almost screaming. And I would have to coach them, calm down, collect your breath. What they don't realize is if their systems aren't conditioned, their central nervous system isn't conditioned, if that happened for real in active shooting, they would be propelled into that scenario and not be able to act, kill the bad guy, save the good guy, go into harm's way, make rapid decisions under stress, be technically proficient, because they are not conditioned for stress, especially physically. I mean, it's classic cases, Uvalde, how it unraveled. And this comfort crisis that we're living in is getting worse. I mean, most people that I know, they interact with their phones so much, they're losing touch and connection with reality, with their physical capability, and they'll virtue signal all day their technical proficiency, but it doesn't mean shit in an actual gunfight, like it doesn't mean anything in a physical confrontation.
Yeah, if you have never experienced trying to perform at a very high level of arousal when your heart's jacked and your adrenaline's pumping through your system, you really don't know what that's like. And it's a very difficult thing to do. You know, I was shocked when I started bow hunting. When you experience that moment when you shoot all these arrows and you're like, oh, I'm really good at shooting arrows. I've got it down. And then all of a sudden, a screaming bull is moving through the trees, and you have this open window to shoot, and your heart is fucking hammering in your chest, and your pin's moving around like this, and you're like, oh my God, like I got to figure out a way to calm myself the fuck down. Like I was shocked that where there's really no, I mean, the consequence is I don't want to wound an animal. And I don't want to fuck it up. I want it to be a clean and ethical kill. So there's no danger to me. But yet your heart rate is fucking jacked through the roof because it's an alien sort of experience. It's a very new experience. Multiply that times 100 if your life's on the line. Mm-hmm. Multiply that times 100 if you're actually being attacked by that animal. Multiply that times 100 if a person is trying to get you. And you're not accustomed to being able to respond and deal with stress. And that's most people.
Yeah, you'll find this fascinating. This is, you ever heard of the term hypoarousal?
Yes.
So I've heard you talk about it a couple times. The problem with this idea of being hypo-aroused, playing possum, the feign response, is it's not widely studied. There's a woman named Amanda Ripley. Have you ever interviewed Amanda Ripley?
No.
She wrote the book Unthinkable, and it's a real good book on why people live, why people die. I'm fascinated by that shit and survival. She talks about the Virginia Tech shooting. Horrible circumstance that took place at Virginia Tech where shooter goes into the school, kills 32 people, and then kills himself. He goes classroom to classroom, shooting students, like one at a time, at will, at random, shooting them in the head. Like 93% or more of the people he shot in the head. So he's just walking one by one. And this is on me too. This is something fucked up I used to do. I used to teach this course, warrior mindset. You know, this idea about, oh, we got to have a warrior fucking mindset. And when I taught it, I used to use Virginia Tech as an example. And I would say, when does it become real for you to get off your ass and fight for your life? Is it when the 10th student closest to the door gets popped in the fucking head by a semi-automatic pistol? Or is it the second person, the third person? Or maybe your friend, because friends sit together in classrooms. Was it your friend? Was it your friend that woke you up so you could fight for your life? Or was it when the Glock was put against the back of your head and then you went, oh, I need to fight, and then you got popped in it and it's too late, you're fucking dead? Why did nobody fight? And that's because I didn't know better.